There once was a cartoon made in the 60s about a dog who was mighty and frisky. Then along came Disney in the middle of the aughts to make a live-action adaptation. Maybe they should have not. But we'll watch this film with live-action Bar Sinister and Cad in the hopes to see if Underdog is not that bad. Welcome, one and all, to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies. Hello to all of our listeners in Albany, Georgia, and around the world. How the heck are you guys doing? Okay, everyone, never fear. Underdog, the movie, is here, and also here to join us for this episode as we take a little trip down live-action adaptation road. Lyle Robshaw's back on the show. Lyle, how you doing, man?
Oh, Jason, I'm always doing great to jump on here and talk about some crazy remake of a super obscure cartoon. This is just something that I think tickles the center of both of our brains.
All right, so you are the one who brought this to the table. Let's get into this. What does this movie mean to you?
So, I watched the cartoon. My dad put a lot of retro cartoons in front of me when I was a kid, so I was very familiar with Rocky and Bullwinkle. I was very familiar with Rocket Robin Hood. Going to throw it real obscure for anybody that
man.
Oh yeah, I'm educated. I know the finer things. Of course, Scooby-Doo was the one that caught on, as if anybody who's watched our Scooby-Doo episodes knows that. But I really liked Underdog, and I kind of forgot about it for a while until this movie came out. And when it did come out, I was pretty obsessed with it there for a minute because it had kind of everything that I loved. It was a superhero movie, wasn't Marvel or DC. It was new, and as paint by numbers as it is now, it still holds like a special place in my heart. I watched this a lot when we went camping. I had it on DVD, and you can only bring so many movies with you because it's kind of a rainy day emergency plan when we went camping. And Underdog was one of them. So my parents had to suffer through watching this many times.
You had the emergency book of rainy day DVDs, didn't you?
Oh, you know I did. None of them were in the cases. They were all in like the sleeves.
I have like, I swear to God, like when the last time I moved, and it will be the last time I ever move, we took all like the DVD cases, got rid of them. Just got one of those big giant 200 disc books, and so big that there's no way you can actually zip it up afterwards.
Yeah, 100%. Once it gets 50% full, you have to start like spacing them out to actually get it to close. And I think it's great because you save a lot of physical media that way, because in the days of like, things getting bought up by streaming services and disappearing from the storefronts, you always have a copy. I have a copy. I probably still have that DVD somewhere packed away in all my boxes. Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, there are movies and TV shows out there that may never see the light of day ever again on a streaming service, because who knows whereabouts those original masters are. Like there are TV shows out there where I'm like, someday someone's going to find these tapes or these, and that's like, most of them are probably tapes.
Yeah, Rocket Robin Hood's one of them. I haven't heard of that in forever. It was on Teletoon Retro when I was a kid, but I've never seen a physical copy of like a collection of that, right? And those are the things that get lost, the cool like niche cartoons that were only on for like a season. They're the ones that get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, I think it was like the same production company too that did like the 1960s Spider-Man TV show.
Yeah, I think you're right. The Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, the one with like...
No, that was in the 80s. I'm talking about the one from the 60s.
Oh, yeah, the one that just reused animation cells whenever he swang anywhere.
Exactly.
That one was great.
Yeah, the Spider-Man series where the voice of Spider-Man in that show was the same person who voiced Hermie the Elf in the classic Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
The claymation one.
Yeah.
I think it's because when I watch it, I'm still too enamored with Yukon Cornelius. He's my favorite Christmas character. That guy's hilarious.
Nothing.
It's abominable.
All right. Well, while you now have silver and gold stuck in your head, it's time to take Underdog and trailerize it.
Evil lurks beneath Capital City as an evil genius dabbles in genetic experimentation. But when a wayward bomb-sniffing beagle gets captured and experimented on, he becomes Underdog, a superhero with more bad puns than Spider-Man, the flying ability of Season 1 Invincible, and more fur than Beast from the X-Men. he'll become the hero the city never asked for. No, seriously. Did you see how much damage this noober hero caused while trying to stop a mugging? Who's gonna pay for all that? And how? In dog treats? And who let him off the leash in the city? There has to be a bylaw against... No. I know it's just a movie. Come on. Impressionable dogs everywhere can watch this ish at home. Next thing you know, your favorite shirt is torn up, made into a cape, and you're left with a massive city maintenance bill. Mark my words. You let this happen and this town will go to the dogs. Literally. Maybe it's time to fear, because Underdog is here. Rated PG for Pups Gone Wild.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we did.
That was a lot of dog puns.
That was a lot of
dog puns.
You thought,
never cease to amaze me with those, you know? Whenever you trailerize it, I'm always like, how's he gonna land this plane? And you always do.
You thought this film had bad puns. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad jokes and dad jokes for days over here.
I think it's because when Jim Belushi isn't anything that's in his contract, I think he has to have, according to Jim, jokes in there. So it's all dad comedy.
It kind of makes sense, right? But like down on his luck dad comedy, because of course that seems to be the go-to Jim Belushi role.
It's true. It's always the I just lost my job, or the wife is gone, or it's always like he's never happy at the beginning of any movie he is in. He has never played somebody who is positive out of the gate.
It's like Jim Belushi shows up on screen. Oh, what do you mean? Oh, nothing's happened yet. The movie just started. I know.
Something has already happened to Jim Belushi. You know that.
Exactly.
You know something's already happened.
All right, well, let's get into who else is in this movie. Aside from Jim Belushi, you have Peter Dinklage, Patrick Warburton, Alex Newberger, Taylor Momsen, John Slattery, Samantha Bee, Jason Lee, and Amy Adams. However, there is an almost starring in this, and it is fascinating.
Really?
We're going to start off with the voice of Underdog. Under consideration at points during the production of this film, Robin Williams, Vince Vaughn, Miguel Ferrer, Dermot Mulroney, Tom Hanks, Robert Rodriguez, Jon Favreau, Steve Martin, Jeff Fahey, and John Ratzenberger.
See, I think everybody in this and everybody that was the almost, they must have watched the cartoon when they were kids.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
There has to have been some kind of feeding frenzy over it, because the amount of star power that's in this, there must have been something that attracted them all to it. Because that is insane. The only one on that list that I could see voicing the dog well is I see Steve Martin. I do see Steve Martin. I don't think I see Robin Williams. I don't think I can.
It's funny you mentioned that, because the one voice I could see here doing a decent Underdog, Jon Favreau.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's also really versed in like the talking animal art, I guess, if that makes any sense. He's done so much with The Lion King. It makes sense how this is right up his alley. And thinking of his performances, it does kind of make sense, because Jason Lee and him would probably do it similarly, honestly. Like I could see them doing, because Jason Lee plays this deadpan serious if he's just a dog that doesn't understand what's going on, which is, I think, hilarious and one of the better parts of this.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Hanks, he would just be sitting there going, oh, Woody is a dog now.
Yeah, basically, it would just, exactly. It wouldn't be a whole lot different from the same voice he uses and everything.
Yeah, and John Ratzenberger would be like, oh, every character from a Pixar film.
Yeah, it would feel too Disney-ish, I think.
But then, as the role of Polly, under consideration for the voice was Jennifer Goodwin, Nicole Kidman, Sissy Spacek, Raquel Boncalis, and Susan Blakely.
Nicole Kidman doesn't make any sense, but Jennifer does, because this is right up that Disney alley that she's very used to. A lot of the role, that makes sense. The character even makes complete sense. I didn't know it was Amy Adams until after the movie was over. I went in pretty totally blind from when I was a kid, because you're not paying attention to these things when you're like 10 years old. And I just kept going, they're in this? They're in this? Like, I didn't remember who any of the people, except for Peter Dinklage, obviously, because who could forget?
Right. But then the funny thing is, that casting is brilliant in hindsight, because, of course, if Polly is supposed to be like the Lois Lane-esque kind of dog to Underdog, and then she becomes Lois Lane.
Yeah. Makes sense, right? There's layers to this.
Like an ogre.
Like an onion.
The movie is directed by Frederick DeChow, hasn't directed much from the movie point of view. He has directed Quest for Camelot, Racing Stripes, and a movie called Bollywolf. So clearly familiar with working with dogs. Bollywolf.
Honestly, that filmography though, Racing Stripes, I loved that. All of these movies came out when I was a kid. It feels like he directed for like 5 years and then went away, because I remember Quest for Camelot as well. And Racing Stripes and Quest for Camelot were great movies.
What, no love for Bollywolf?
Did not know Bollywolf existed, and I already can probably guess exactly what it is by the title. So,
is it weird? I kind of want to watch that film.
I know, because I'm thinking the same thing, and I'm going to Google it immediately after we're done this session.
According to Wikipedia, the film had a budget of $25 million. Domestically made $43 million, some of it probably from Lyle, and worldwide $65 million. When it debuted on the August 3rd, 2007 weekend, it debuted at number 3 with $11.5 million. The top grossing debut that weekend at number 1 was The Bourne Ultimatum with $69 million. But also debuting that weekend at number 9 was Hot Rod with $5 million. And at number 10, Bratz, the movie, with $4 million. So yet another adaptation of a kid's property.
I was about to say, anybody who's within the age group that I'm in, like 27 to 32, you know what the Bratz were. That was a cultural phenomenon at the time. And it's really funny because this comes out, which is very much like a cultural kids phenomenon from like way back in the day. And it comes out against something that is a very new kids property. So that's really interesting, actually.
Yeah, and at number 2
is great.
And at number 2 was the Simpsons movie at $25 million in its second week.
Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does.
At the 2008 Young Artist Awards, Alex Newberger was nominated for Best Performance in a Feature Film, Leading Young Actor, but lost to Josh Hutcherson for Bridge of Terabithia.
Whew. Oh, God, the mention of that movie makes anybody who's seen it sad.
Taylor Momsen was nominated for Best Performance in a Feature Film Supporting Young Actress, but lost to Jasmine Jessica Anthony in 1408. And the film was nominated for Best Family Film Feature, Fantasy or Musical, but lost to Bridge of Terabithia.
Which, yeah, there's no contest there. Any kids movie that was coming out is going to lose to a generationally great movie that teaches kids about grief. It's so good.
But the reason why we are here, of course, is we're about to reveal just how much the critics have poo-pooed on Lyle's childhood.
Yeah.
Over Rotten Tomatoes, this film has a tomatometer of 15%, with a popcorn meter of 42%. Letterboxd, 2.4 stars out of 5 for a 48% score. IMDb, 4.8 stars out of 10, 48%. Metacritic, a Metascore of 37, and the movie database sits at 56%, giving this film the aggravated aggregate of 41%. So, well, I already know that the 15% is going to be considered low, but yes. 41% for the aggregate in hindsight.
Yeah, in hindsight, because this is for this recording, this is the first time I've seen this movie in like 2 decades, quite literally. I'm going to say it deserves to be higher. I think this movie's a pass. I think this movie gets a 60%. That's in my brain. I think this is, for a kid's movie, you can turn this on with adults in the room, and it's not going to melt anybody's brain. It's not going to be like Coco Melon levels of this is, so diatribed and just talking down to the audience. It is, at times, genuinely funny. But as we'll get into, it's genuinely funny because of one character. And none of them are the main characters.
God, Coco Melon. I think the only way you could have gone worse would have been like Caillou.
Yeah, you see, I live with a 3-year-old now. I have a 3-year-old stepdaughter, and I am learning that there are some deep, deep crevices when it comes to children's entertainment that I would rather watch Dungeon Siege than some of the things that Nadia sits and watches for 6 hours.
You have been harping on that film.
I'm never going to let you live it down.
Since we watched it years ago in one of, I think it was like the second ever Grading on a Curve.
I've never been so viscerally angry that I had to finish something.
You hate watched it.
I hate watched it. 45 minutes in, and I was sitting on my couch, like tapping my foot. I was not happy about it. And I didn't get that feeling with this. So I think it gets a pass. 42% does seem low. If you're a kid and you watch this, you're going to enjoy yourself. If you're a 10-year-old, this holds up. So I think if you can, get away with that and still be slightly entertaining for the adults in the room, you've accomplished more than a lot of children's movies do.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
All right, well, let's get to the breakdown here. We start with the one, the only, Peter Dinklage as Dr. Simon Bar Sinister. Your thoughts?
I think that he was probably, the quote unquote best actor in this movie because it's Peter Dinklage. He can do kind of whatever he wants with whatever he wants, but he played this perfectly because he turned the camp up. The biggest fault of this movie is that they didn't know when to lean into the stupid. We were talking earlier about the Masters of the Universe movie that recently came out. If this movie did something like that, you'd have something very special. If you leaned into the campiness and kind of the stupidity of the idea, it would go really well. And I think he did it very well. He did a maniacal, evil scientist that gets his face burned. Like the way he talks to Cad is great. I think he was really good in this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a Disney film, Disney production. So they are going to gear it towards families. They're going to gear it towards the kids. They're going to try and get that kid money coming in, right? The kids aren't going to go see The Bourne Ultimatum. It's not going to happen, right? But here's the interesting thing. The makers of this film knew their lore very well.
They did.
The fact that they expanded the cranium of Dr. Bar Sinister, the fact that the character's name is Simon Bar Sinister, and they kind of put the Bar Sinister together as one last name. It's clear that they are leaning into the nostalgia of this. But here's where I have the biggest question of this film. Okay. Film comes out 2007. 40 some odd years after the series. Who is this film for?
Exactly my question. Because they did litter it with a bunch. Whenever it showed a newspaper, when Underdog was like going around doing his hero stuff, it shows the cartoon version of Underdog from the series on the front of the paper when it shows the newspapers. So it's very clearly like dropping little references in for people who are paying attention. And the rhyming thing, like there's the part at the end when they're fighting in the capital city government building, and they start rhyming back and forth to each other like they do in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you can tell that there's some love put into this for the property, but you are 100% right. No kid at this point in 2007 knew who Underdog was.
Yeah.
I was one of the few people went into this movie knowing the cartoon. I think that was my age. And that's just because I have parents who educated me well.
I think the biggest thing too is that as we were talking about Masters of the Universe before we started recording, and of course just recently, it's one of those things where it's not like Masters of the Universe popped up like in the 80s and then disappeared for 40 years and then came back with this movie. There have been animated iterations of the toy all throughout during those years, right? You had one series that was put out. I can't remember who put it out, but then you had the one that was written and directed by Kevin Smith that was done for Netflix recently. So there has been this extended lifespan of the Masters of the Universe property, and She-Ra as well, right?
She-Ra was a big thing on Netflix not that long ago. There was also a movie that came out that was He-Man that had like Brian Cage and John Morrison, the wrestlers in them. I think it was kind of like it's He-Man, but we can't call it He-Man kind of thing. But there's always been that mythos and the memes. That's without even getting into the memes. The Skeletor memes were a huge thing when I was in high school.
Right. But the thing is, that's not Underdog.
No.
Right?
No.
Underdog came, Underdog went, and then Underdog came back 40 years later.
So do you think this was like some like testing the waters, like throwing a line out and saying, hey, does this still land in today's day and age? And it was made by a bunch of people who, like I said, because of that almost casted. I think this was almost like a passion project of someone who really loved the property. And they're like, let's bring it back and see if it injects something now, and if this hits, we'll make like a show out of it, because Disney does not make a movie without thinking in their heads, can we make this into a series?
Yeah.
They never have, and they never will.
I mean, I think the other thing too is that when you consider the time gap between the original series and when this movie comes out, right? If you watched this as a kid, you were probably like what, like 6, 7, 8, if you were watching it on TV, like back in the 60s, right?
Yeah.
2007, you're already creeping in on 50. So you have to think that your kids are probably well past going to see a kid's movie age at the theater with you. This is more for the adults. You know, maybe who knows? Maybe you are bringing your grandkids to it, but it's like it just seems like too far a gap to properly lean into the nostalgia for nostalgia's sake, right? 20 years, you know what? No problem, right? And you think about it, right? The Michael Bay Transformer films came out roughly 20 years, after like the original. Like you could see that kind of, because I remember, like, obviously I grew up as a Transformers kid. So when the Transformers, the movies came out, I was trying to indoctrinate my kids at a young age into watching Transformers, and trust me, it was that perfect amount of time. 40 years might be too long a gap. But that being said, they really leaned into making Dr. Bar Sinister almost exactly like the cartoon that came before it. It was spot on. The only downside to, and it's not even Peter Dinklage's performance, because the man is such a fantastic freaking actor.
He's amazing in everything he's in. He's never fumbled anything.
But, and spoilers like a mofo, when you get to the end fight scene and he takes the pill that has all the juice kind of thing, or the formula, and then he's bouncing around, that is the one part of this film that does not stand up to today's production standards, and it just looks bad.
Yeah, there's a couple times too. There was once when Underdog was flying away from the jewelry store that was being robbed earlier in the movie. He flies away, and it looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint. Like, it does not hold up at all. There's a couple frames where if you pause it, you can see Underdog facing directly at the screen, and he looks like PS1 polygon graphics. There's a couple CGI moments with the dogs talking too, where it's like they're trying to give a French bulldog like a human, like, mouth movements, and it's like, okay, this doesn't seem to be working the way you guys think it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to make a talking dog film look realistic, and they did a pretty good job overall. But yeah, the minute they start flying Bar Sinister around all over the place, it's like, okay, I've been able to suspend disbelief for so long. This is when you have officially jumped the dog shark.
Yeah, there's a couple moments where it's just like, this is a difficult pill to swallow, no pun intended, if you've seen the movie. But the other one for me that blows me away is how they basically just ignore dog rules for every dog, not just for Underdog, not just the superhero dogs, but they just ignore some basic facts about a dog. Like, there's the time when he shows up for his date with Polly, and she's just like, oh my God, Underdog was just here. And it's like, don't you have like the best sense of smell in the animal kingdom, and you can't smell that that's the guy that was standing right in front of you a minute ago?
Okay, so maybe. Okay, so yeah, no, it doesn't work if you're looking at it from a dog's point of view. Jim Belushi as Dan. This is Jack's father, and very much a Jim Belushi role. What are your thoughts?
It's a Jim Belushi role, so it's fun. It's good. I think he, like I said, it's easy for him to play the same character. He plays a lot, but I do think there's some cool bits there with him being an ex-cop that was let go, and then you come to find out that he was let go because after the mom passed away, well, something happened to the mom. It's never really explicitly said, but she's gone. And he's like, I quit the force because I didn't want anything to happen to me. I was like, that's a better emotional arc than there is in some of these, where the dad is just mean for the sake of being mean. So I do think there was a little bit of heart in there. And the part where they were tied up and he had to get the kid to help untime and stuff, I think it was good. I think it was a serviceable Jim Belushi role, and it's the same as all the other ones he's done.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you were to write down this character sketch on paper, right? Single parent, ex-cop, left the force, so spend more time with the kid, not necessarily up, dadding up to potential, but eventually comes through in the end. How is that not Jim Belushi?
That's just on his CV when he goes to the studios and gives a CV. Will play a sad dad.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
I mean, the role itself, from a script point of view, doesn't really ask much of Jim Belushi, but his presence adds a lot more than I think probably the script exactly is asking for.
Yeah, he had some gravitas. Peter Dinklage too. Like the star power of who's here whenever they're on screen, you do get wrapped up in it a bit because like it's Peter Dinklage riffing with Patrick Warburton every time they're on screen. So it's like even though the dialogue isn't that good and it's like really color by numbers campy, it's still like you're hooked into it because they're so good.
Well, since you mentioned him, Patrick Warburton as Cad Lackey, your thoughts?
Amazing. I love him so much. Obviously, everything he's in, he's funny, and he usually is the funnier part. But just being the, like you said, true to cartoon, bumbling sidekick that is just dumb for the sake of being dumb. His thesaurus burns at the beginning of the movie, so he only speaks in P words, which there was a lot of alliteration in the original cartoon when he talked to. So that was another like kind of throwback to the series from the 60s. I think he was really, really good. Played a great screwy one to the straight man. And at the end, again, spoilers, when he's like, I took the top bunk. Hope you don't mind. And that's his punishment, not going to jail, but you have to share a cell with Cad. That's the punishment. I thought that was great.
The only thing I kept thinking of when I saw Patrick Warburton playing against Peter Dinklage, I'm like, how is this not your live action adaptation of Pinky and the Brain?
Yes. I literally have that written down. I was like, you want to do a cartoon revamp? Do Pinky and the Brain. Because that's exactly what it kind of already was.
Yeah.
This kind of was that exact dynamic, except he didn't ask him what he wanted to do today. And that's a movie I'd go see. If they made a Pinky and the Brain today, I would line up for that.
Pinky and the Brain, but somehow the brain becomes president.
I think that already happened, didn't it?
Or worse, Pinky becomes president.
I don't know which one of those, but I'm pretty sure one of those has already happened.
But it is. It's one of those things where, I mean, that comedy duo dynamic style has long been comedy gold. The idea of, you know, the goofy, funny guy and the very, very serious. I mean, it's Abbott and Costello. It's Laurel and Hardy. It's Pinky and the freaking Brain.
It's classic because it works.
Yeah.
And look at this. Like I said, this is a very, to a fault, a color by numbers movie that has a premise I think could be a lot more, but they are a shining great part of it because they just take what works, this super classic dynamic, and you also have the physicality differences as well. Because Peter Dinklage, obviously a smaller man, and Patrick Warburton, obviously a gigantic guy. So they look like a cartoon supervillain team. They look exactly how they should.
I mean, it's either a Pinky and the Brain adaptation or it's a sequel to Twins.
Yeah, the remake to Twins. Yeah, that would be good. They also like just any supervillain lackey team. They fit perfectly. You could cast these guys in anything and it would work.
Alex Newberger is Jack. Now, keep in mind, too, this is only his second ever film. Your thoughts on him?
I have never seen a child so indifferent to the world around him. I don't want to bully a child actor for his performance of a child, but man, he didn't seem to care about anything. And I know that was probably the direction, was like he's like an angsty teen and mom's gone and dad's kind of looking like a loser right now. But there are times when a dog talks and flies in front of him and he's just like, oh, I hope no one saw that, and says it exactly like that, maybe with less emotion than I just said it. So for him to be the one that Jason Lee is playing off of the entire time, that's what made some of the dialogue pretty difficult. Because, dude, it's like Freddie Prinze Jr. said in an interview the best. It's a talking dog. Like, who would not be so enthralled by this? And it almost seems like he's indifferent to it, and it's annoying him more than anything.
I think probably the biggest problem here is that for a film that lives in the nostalgic world of this original cartoon series, yes, you have Bar Sinister. Yes, you have Cad Lackey. Yes, of course, you have Underdog. Jack is new.
Yeah.
And I find that the characters that have no real ties to the animated series don't really have a strong footing from a script point of view.
Because you kind of had to shoehorn them in somewhere, right? Because you can't obviously make an hour and 29-minute long episode of Underdog because it wouldn't play well. because they're bite-sized episodes of an old cartoon, right? So it's like you get 15, 20 minutes, you wrap everything up, and like, Never Fear Underdog is here. So you kind of had to put modern day plots in there. So they had to come up with something. And the kid if it was just Jim Belushi, it would have made more sense to me, because then it's like Underdog talking about how do I be a hero to an ex-cop who's like not want like you could get a different way for him to get off the force, just have it be the dog and him, and I think it would have done better. But it's a kids movie, right? So they have to have someone for the kid to identify with. So here comes the son. I think there was just too many cooks in the kitchen with this character. And like I said, it almost comes off as like he's annoyed and indifferent to be there, whereas everybody else is very much like, "Whoa, it's a superhero dog." And yeah, it didn't land for me.
I think the thing though, and maybe this is just, not wanting to kind of paint them in a corner, is that if you didn't have the kid, right? If it was, let's say it's Jim Belushi's character who's on the bomb squad. So when the dog kind of flames out with that whole incident with the ham, and Dan has to leave the bomb squad force and has to take the dog with him because the dog can't do the damn job. I mean, that feels almost like a retread of the K-9 film, which also starred Jim Belushi. So I can see why they you want to put the kid in. Plus, also, it's a boy and his dog kind of film.
Yeah,
really,
100%.
the grand scheme of things, which is where the kind of the Disney angle comes through. But I mean, if you're doing a film that's basically a boy and his dog, don't live in the nostalgia of a series that doesn't have the boy in it.
Yeah, 100%, because there was not many other characters in Underdog other than Underdog, Sinister, Cad, and insert villain here this week, right? So it's just it feels like it's a little bit forced, but they didn't really have anything else they could do. I just wish I'm not sure if it's the writing or if it's the kid that was just inexperienced, but there were a lot of times they were talking to each other and the dog's like, "No, we got to go do this," and like I'm learning, and he's reading him a training book while talking to him, like, "Okay, sit," and he knows how to do it all. He's like, "Wow, I guess we covered 4 weeks of training in 4 seconds." I'm like, he's already told you he was a bomb squad dog.
Yeah.
He told you this. He's already highly trained. He was a police dog.
The thing is, when you take a look at the actual cartoon series, you had Underdog, kind of a riff off of Superman, right? And you had Polly Purebred, who was a riff off Lois Lane. So here we got Jack, who's basically the owner of the dog. And then you have Molly, played by Taylor Momsen, who is also the school reporter. So here they're kind of taking what the role of Polly Purebred was and giving it to Molly. But your thoughts on Taylor Momsen in this?
Again, the boy needed someone to play off of. They needed to have some kind of plot there with him. And because they were going to have Underdog interacting with the other dog so much, they have to have her have an owner too, right? The worst journalist I've ever seen, because her best friend / like budding romance partner has Underdog, and somehow you can't figure it out, and somehow your dog can't figure it out, even though she can smell him. But it's good to see Taylor Momsen in anything, because it's just really interesting to see her career trajectory, because she's one of those actresses you don't remember a lot of the movies she was in other than the Grinch, obviously. And then so when you see her in something, you're like, oh yeah. And then it just reminds you that she's the front person of the Pretty Reckless now. Like, what a crazy ride that must have been to go from the Grinch and Underdog to melting faces across the planet and opening up for AC/DC. Like,
or, being attacked by bats or getting spider bites on her leg while on tour.
Yeah, a bunch of weird, like, it's amazing she doesn't have superpowers at this point.
Maybe she does, and she's just not telling us.
That voice is a superpower, because the Pretty Reckless are awesome.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, the problem with Molly is that they don't really give her much to do except for be the damsel in distress. Like a very, very bad kind of Lois Lane. Like very much a, bad 30s, almost like the 20s, 30s era cartoon of Superman.
Very much so. Very much so. To the point where her dog catches that same thing too, because at the end, when she's tied up on top of the bell tower there, her dog is not tied up, but she is. She's like, how am I going to get you? Have a dog that has razor sharp teeth, chew through the wire. You can figure something out.
Yeah.
Like that. They just ignore a lot of very obvious dog rules and plot holes and put her in these like Daphne Blake situations where it's like, help me. And it's like, if that's the only reason the character is there, there's ways you could have gotten around that turn without using her for that. Like, it would have been really cool if there was like a subplot where she kind of was onto it, right? And was like, okay, there's something clearly going on here. So she's following them around and keeps running into them because I think that dog's Underdog, but I can't prove it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things too where we've seen the romantic interest side character who also happens to be a reporter in a movie kind of aimed at kids work better. And that was Catherine Newton in Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great shot. That's a great call because you're 100% right.
Like, that role was perfect. She was killer in that film, but that should have been, and I recognize that Underdog came out before, well before it. I understand how time works. I also watched Doctor Who, so deal with that. But that should have been the template. That should have been how Molly should have been written. Molly should have been the reporter.
Yeah, that actually was reporting. Instead, I think at one point it shows she has like one of the, Pepe Silva boards there from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where she's trying to figure out who this is. But that's it. Other than that, it's just her randomly running in to the boy and his dog and them barking 3 times and having to run away and her never questioning it, nor the dog, why this guy just keeps right in the middle of a date being like, oh, the dog barked, I gotta go. Like, it's stupid for stupid's sake is not a good character.
Now we get to some of the voice work here. Jason Lee as the voice of Underdog. We've already kind of picked our, who from that list could have done it, but the guy who got the job, your thoughts?
I think it was perfect because who knew that he would then, make a whole career out of a television show that is his claim to fame where he is narrating most of the time. But unfortunately, in hindsight, watching this as an adult who has watched all of My Name is Earl, he didn't change the voice a bit. So it feels like a My Name is Earl episode on acid because it feels like Earl is walking me through that time he actually got turned into a dog and now he has to apologize to the cop for getting his job bundled at the crime scene or something like that. But I think it's kind of perfect. He has a really good cadence for it, and there's a bunch of ways you could have played this, right? And I love how he is still a dog. Like, there's times when he's just like, that couch tried to attack me when it came at him and stuff like that. Like, it's not like he's talking like a human. The humans can just understand his dog speech now. So when he talks to a person, he doesn't immediately like get everything about being a human, which is my big problem with some talking animal movies is suddenly all of a sudden they know like metaphors and they know how similes work and stuff like that. He doesn't. There's a couple of funny bits where he is a dog that can just talk and doesn't understand how things work. And he plays it very well, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if you're making this film today, I mean, the first person they're calling for that role is Ryan Reynolds, obviously.
1,000%. 1,000. Ryan Reynolds or Chris Pratt, unfortunately.
No, I think Ryan Reynolds would probably fit a little bit better. But I mean, like, back then, Jason Lee was the one kind of getting those kind of jobs. So that kind of makes sense here. Yeah, it's so funny how like you can almost see the parallels between this and then what Detective Pikachu would become, because of course you've got Ryan Reynolds as the voice of Detective Pikachu.
100%.
Then you have Lois Lane, Amy Adams as the voice of Polly. Your thoughts?
This character made me angry. This is the character I did not like because every time I was just like, why are you not a dog? How are you missing all of this? Like, I get it. She's Polly purebred. She's supposed to be like kind of ditzy. That's a bit of the character, but that took me. This is why both you and film school have ruined my brain watching movies. Because as soon as that scene came up where Underdog was there, I was like, oh, she's got to smell him, right? She's got to smell. That's the same dog. And then they just kind of glossed over it. And she's like, at the end, oh, Shoe Shine, you're so silly. Like, you have to go do something crazy that you just said. And it's like, come on. Like, you could have written this better. 100%. It's nothing against Amy Adams. The performance was Amy Adams. Of course, it's going to be good. But the character itself and Polly and Molly were both just like there to be a device to work off of the two guys, which it just does not work for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're making this today, maybe that role goes to someone like a Brie Larson.
Yeah. Brie Larson would be a great shot for something like this. Or what is her name? She voiced Velma in Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. But there's a couple names you could do it better. But if it's written like this, I don't think it matters. because this is the damsel in distress trope done to a heinous degree.
Yeah.
Even in 2007, that was played out.
Like, I guess the question is, what do you take out of the film in order to put something more in there for Molly and Polly?
What do you take out of I just think you make both of them more suspicious. Like, instead of the subplot of it just being like, we have to dance around this so they don't find out, I think it should be both of them trying to find out. Like, it's like, I did smell the same dog twice. That's got to be him. And she's trying to communicate that to her owner, but she can't talk. So she's trying the whole time to be like, hey, go over there. Look at this. He's about to take off. And then they get there and he's gone immediately because he just flew up into the air and did his like sonic boom exit that he likes to do. I can think of 4 things off the top of my head to make that better and give much more cadence to both Taylor Momsen and Amy Adams here.
2 more small roles in this. First one, Samantha Bee as the principal of the school. And I only mention it because it's Samantha Bee.
Yeah.
But kind of nice to see her in this.
It is. Everybody in this was like, even the bit players are like, oh, wow, look at that. And of course, like, she's playing off of the, you know, edgy teenager at the beginning when he tries to write himself off with monkeypox, forges his doctor's signature, all that stuff, trying to really reinforce that, like, oh, he's downtrodden. But she's pretty funny about it. She is good.
And then you have the mayor of the town, played by John Slattery, probably best known as Howard Stark. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that was the random one that, of course, now being older and deeply ingrained in comic book lore, I was like, what are you doing here? And like the whole bit at the end when he comes out after being knocked out and is somehow like he wakes up, walks out, and then immediately in the middle of a crisis hostage situation that theoretically is also a bomb threat, it's just like, Jim Belushi, you have full control over the situation. Go and deal with it. He played it very stern and very like one-dimensional. He is like the mayor. You could have told me this was the mayor of Townsville from the Powerpuff Girls, and it's basically, you know, the same kind of thing. But very cool to see Howard Stark.
In a superhero film, no less.
Still in a superhero film. Yep, this might have been his first superhero movie. It was Underdog. Underdog walked so Iron Man could run.
Okay, so obviously this film is a part of your childhood. How does it hold up to you today?
I went into this fully expecting to hate it. I went into this and I was like, halfway through this, I'm going to be like, wow, this is one of those ones that I should not have liked as much. And there is some things that are like, just, oh my God, this is so childish. Like when Underdog first gets his powers and just simply kicks Patrick Warburton and he lands on the lab equipment, the lab just explodes. I don't know if Patrick Warburton weighs like 800 pounds, but he gently lands on a desk and the whole lab just catches fire and starts to melt down. And I'm like, wow, what is going on? Everybody kicks Jim Belushi while he's down for absolutely no reason. It's super unrealistic for a kid as young as the main actor is to not want a dog. Like if your dad just came home with a beagle when you were 12 or 13 years old, any kid would go crazy unless they're heartless or there's something like deeply wrong with them. Everybody loves dogs. Someone's come home with a beagle, you're not going to be like, I don't want him, like he did. And the best bit of this movie was a Jim Belushi dad gag. This better be chili. I did love that when he exploded the chili bat, but I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to, quite honestly, because at the core, I do think this concept should be revisited. I think someone should take Underdog, but do something really, really different with it. I would like to see like Nick Kroll get his hands on this and make like an animated version of it that's maybe more adult and lean into the stupidity of it. But I think there is something here. The fight scenes are cool. Like it was cool during the jewel robbery scene to have the dog come in and kind of do Spider-Man quips and just start beating the crap out of all of these grown men. The visual was very appealing. The music was honestly better than I expected it to be. The main theme song and the one that's done by the Plain White Tees was really good. The theme song for the cartoon was catchy, so this doesn't really stray too far away from it, but it was still really, really good. I give this movie a pass. Like, I give this movie a solid 60%. I'm not going to go back and watch it again for my own entertainment, but if it was on, I'd be like, all right, look, kids, Underdog is on, and I would sit and watch it with the kids.
I mean, the chili thing kind of makes sense, and I say that because the dog in K9, the other dog movie that Jim Belushi's in, actually ate chili.
Are you serious? Is there that many levels to this onion?
There is actually, surprisingly. But I mean, it's one of those things where you take a look at this film, and even if you don't know the nostalgia of the original series, we all know the story of Superman. And Underdog was basically a spoof or riff on the lore of the Kryptonian. So it kind of makes sense. So if you're a Superman fan, you can find something to latch onto this. If you have young kids, they're probably going to get a kick out of it, right? If you actually are aged and remember the animated series.
You said that with such an edge to it.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's someone out there going, I remember that damn TV show, and god damn, it was the best thing that was on TV, right next to that Rocket Robin Hood.
And like those people got little tidbits too, because I like how they gave the costume a backstory. Like it's the dad's university sweater that was put in the dryer and shrunk to like 5 times smaller than it should be. And that's where he got the big U from. And I'm like, they're putting work into things that do not need explained. Like I did not need the lore on where he got the sweater. He could have just pulled it out of the closet. So yeah, your original question from earlier in this episode is 100% true. I don't know who this was for. I don't know who it was for, but it hits in certain ways. Obviously, it's not a complete package, but I think it's definitely better than 42%.
Yeah. It's just, I think it's like maybe 20 years too late for, proper nostalgia's sake, but it's still a good watch if you're looking for something fun.
Yeah.
But now comes the business. Who is your MVP of Underdog?
Okay, so it was a really hard toss-up here because it's one of the few times I think I went with the main actor as one of my candidates for MVP because, man, Jason Lee did a really good job here. He did not do anything offensive. The jokes did land when he did them right. The narration was good, just like it is in My Name is Earl. So it's between him and Patrick Warburton. And honestly, I think I'm going to give it to Jason Lee because Cad did just have a couple jokes that didn't land. So I'm going to go ahead and say that for the first time on this show, I think my MVP is the main voice. It's Underdog, Jason Lee.
See, I had a coin toss for myself as well for MVP. Patrick Warburton was in the mix because sometimes Pinky gets the better of the lines versus the brain.
Always, I think.
But Peter Dinklage is the other side of that coin. Yes. I think the two of them together were so perfectly mismatched that it was just comedy gold. But I'm leaning more towards Patrick Warburton on this. And I think it's because that whole fight scene at the end, and I realize that this is not Peter Dinklage's fault. This is just like,
it looked bad.
When 3 of the 4 render farm computers die out, this is what happens. This is what the fight scene looks like. And you're left with PS1 era graphics, or even worse, Atari 2600. It wasn't good. Some of that computer stuff just doesn't hold up. But as someone who enjoys good, stupid, silly fun with a thesaurus, if you've paid attention to this show, you know that there's probably a thesaurus used in some of the writing. Patrick Warburton gets my pick for this.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Another one of the best bits in the movie was when he, again, in a really good evil villain line, Peter Dinklage says to Patrick Warburton, I knew I should have put strychnine in your chocolate milk weeks ago. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, there's some out of pocket moments between those two. And when he gets in that final fight that does look bad, when he gets knocked down by Underdog and he just lays down and goes, Cad's hit. And he just lays there and like corpses on the stairs for the rest of the movie.
Dude, thank you so much for this. It was fun to kind of go back down this road. Like it's a good, fun film. I kind of wish my kids were young in order to be able to kind of rewatch it, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, and that was the fun for me because I got to show the 10-year-old. I got to show him one of these things. And like, it is this weird little science experiment because I do firmly believe if you brought this back, but didn't play it as safe to the show, you could do something here. Like I said, if you gave it to a Nick Kroll and just let him run away with it and turn it into something crazy, or if you gave it to a James Gunn who does well with animal characters in all of his movies. I think if you gave it to James Gunn outside of the DC universe, there's something here. You just can't make it an homage to a show that nobody's seen.
All right, dude. Let us know what you're up to and where we can find you out there on the interwebs.
Well, I have my own podcast now. Me and the boys from the Maritime Wrestling Tag Team Sabotage have a podcast called Sabotage Everything. You can find that on YouTube on North Pro Wrestling. And I'm also still a producer for Anthem Sports Entertainment, so watch your TNA Wrestling every Thursday night.
All right, dude. Thanks so much. And to you, our dear listeners, you guys know the drill. If there is a movie out there that you think is unfairly maligned or is so bad that there is no way in a random city with a flying dog that we can find anything good to say about it, hit us up on social media at NotThatBadcast or go to our website, notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, you might want to double check the list of shows because there's a new one that has popped up, the Under 5 Top 5, that's soon going to have a couple of episodes under that banner, where we take an artist with more than one album but fewer than 5 and make our top 5 of their discography. But until that time, he's Lyle, I'm Jay, you guys are awesome. This is It's Not That Bad, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.
Hey, this is Eric Hutchinson. I've joined the Pantheon podcast family, and I hope you'll come check out my new podcast, Songversations with Eric Hutchinson. Each week, we find out what music matters most to the people who define our cultures. I interview famous guests like actors, musicians, comedians, politicians, and everyone in between. We listen to music together, and we talk about the soundtrack of our lives. It's funny, insightful, revealing, and it's a great way to discover new music. So come check me out, Songversations with Eric Hutchinson, wherever you get your podcasts.